Hey everyone, this is Athletes and Antiquities, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about why graded cards are vastly overpriced in our hobby currently. So you might think it's kind of a weird thing to say, like why would I say that graded cards are overvalued when I clearly collect graded cards? Most of the cards I show off in these videos, they are graded. I'll admit it, I collect graded cards, but at the same time, I'm conscious of the fact that there's huge price discrepancies and there's a lot of things that people overvalue in graded cards. And I just want to talk about that a bit today. This might be a hot topic, so if you disagree, feel free to let me know. Feel free to like what your thoughts are on this, but I'm gonna explain why I think that. So I understand why graded cards get a premium, They get a premium because there's a presentation value to it. It's like your card is in a picture frame. It's sonically sealed, it's protected. It looks more important. A card in a graded holder, it looks more special, and I guess holding it feels more special too, but the more you look into it, there's a lot of very bizarre things in grading that people pay so much for that I think is kind of overhyped. So I kind of want to talk about, so why do I grade? Because I grade my own cards, I buy graded cards. So before I get into this, I just want to explain why I grade cards. So there's 3 reasons why I grade and why I'm sure a lot of people grade. It's for authenticity, condition estimate, emphasis on estimate, condition estimate, and protection. So like with this 2000 Bowman Brady, this is Tom Brady's one of his most identifiable rookie cards, one of his cheaper rookie cards that's in a pro uniform. A lot of his are in his Michigan State uniform, but I got like a card like this I would get in a slab because of an authenticity guarantee, where there's a lot of fakes out there for Brady rookies. It's a paper card, it's got the hollow up here, but it's a very easy card to fake. It's much easier than like a hollow Pokemon card with a very unique hollow pattern. This is a very easy card to fake, so I wanted to buy one that was authenticated. And it also gives me a rough idea of condition. This is a PSA 6, but people think PSA 6 is a terrible grade. Look at this card. This is a great condition card. It's only a PSA 6 because it's a little bit off center on the front, a little bit shifted to the left, and there's very minor damage. There's some slight scuffing at the top here, very slight. You can barely even see it. I'm trying to get it caught in the light there. And there's very small whitening on the black borders on the back, like you see in this corner here. I paid a small percentage of a 10 to get this 6, but it's still a beautiful copy. So I wanted a rough condition estimate and also protection. It's an expensive card, so I don't want to just have a piece of cardboard that I can drop and now my, whatever it may be, $800 card, whatever the price tag is, now drops to half of that because I dropped it. So there is value to grading. I'm not denying the fact that there's value, because obviously I wouldn't do it if I didn't grade. I wouldn't grade if I didn't understand that. But people overvalue that a lot. What is grading? Grading is sending your card to a minimum wage worker or close to it. They're not making tons of money doing this. Just a worker that looks at your card for 30 seconds to a minute. I can't imagine they look at it for more than a minute, given their volume and stuff. They look at your card for a minute and they put it in about 5 or 10 cents of plastic. This is not an expensive thing. This tropical, not the tropical wind, the case around the tropical wind, it's just a thin piece of plastic that they sonically seal. They put a little label in, and then I put it in a little team bag to protect the case from scratching. That's all grading is, but I'm not denying the value in it, but people overhype that value. I already made a video about how people overpay for a 10 versus a 9, so I'll refresh that a little bit. But like, obviously paying for a 10 versus a 9 it's kind of crazy to me because it's a condition estimate. There are plenty of 9s that are 10s, there are plenty of 10s that are 9s, plenty of 9s that are 8s, probably some 10s that are 8s too, Like what I say is when I get a card, like if I buy, what's a good one? I guess this Kyogre here, we'll pull this one up. This EX Emerald Kyogre, beautiful card by the way, love that hollow pattern. But when I bought this 9, I bought it pre-graded. I've never graded with CGC myself. I've only bought CGC cards because they're cheaper for similar quality of like condition of the card. So I bought this card as a 9, and I know that it's roughly between an 8 and a 10. I say every grade has a 3 grade gap that it could fall under. You know, this, if I resubmitted this 9 100 times, maybe 10 or 15 times it gets an 8, 10 or 15 times it gets a 10, and the rest is all 9s, because it's a strong 9. It's not like there's not much damage on this at all. I actually can't really see anything. Little white dot down there. That's like the only damage I see. So I think this would have a chance at a 10, but it could also have a chance at an 8. It depends on who's grading it. They all have slightly different opinions, even though they're fairly uniform. So you have to know that. So that's why I have that argument of I never pay for 10s myself. The only 10s I get, I've graded myself, like this one. I wouldn't have bought this as a 10. I would have bought it as a 9, but I graded it and it got a 10, so I'm gonna keep it as a 10. But things like that. So there's a lot of overhype with that, but there are some cards, it just makes sense to grade just for that protection aspect and everything I talked about with authenticity and stuff like that. But a lot of cards are getting graded that don't make sense to me. And they're selling for a high price because they're graded. But the card itself is very common. And I'm gonna show you one of these cards. I didn't grade this myself. I didn't even buy it. I actually won it as like a prize from Z&G Emporium. Shout out to them, they're a great channel. But they had a giveaway on their channel. And I won. It was like you had to leave a comment of like your favorite Pokemon or something. I won. It was funny. I've never won one of those before. And the person that won gets a PSA 9 first edition Charmander. It's not like some heavy hitter card, but it's a nice giveaway to like reach back to their fans, you know? So I got this card, but cards like this, and no flack to the person that graded this, but it doesn't really make sense. This card, it's not rare. It's very accessible. It was very easy to pull. It's a common from a WotC era. Yes, it is first edition, but especially with Rocket. There's a lot of first edition out there. Rocket is one of the most common first edition WotC sets, or only WotC's first edition, but you know what I'm saying. One of the most common first edition sets, one of the most common cards in that most common set, and this was the peak of Pokemon. There were, I wouldn't be surprised if there were millions of this Charizard produced, but people grade it because they want a card to be in a piece of plastic, and then people will pay so much more for it. I don't know what this card is worth on the top of my head, but I think it's about $30 in a 9. It could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more, but I think it's around $30. The card itself, the raw card, 15, 20 cents maybe. So you could buy multiples of this and grade for the price of this. It doesn't make sense. I could buy 20 of these these Rocket Charmanders, all near mint, pick the best one and grade it, all for cheaper than you can buy this. And like if you want to buy a common card in a slab for your collection to display with like a PSA set or something, that's fine. This is more about people that are buying to hold, you know, they're buying with some sort of monetary idea behind it. That's kind of where I have the problem. You can grade whatever you want. If you want to grade your childhood beat up PSA 1 card, that's awesome. Go for it. Like, just to have that encapsulated. This is about the reselling aspect that I'm really talking about here. One of the best examples is Dan from Catch 'Em All Collectibles. A card he always brings up is the Jungle Eevee, the first edition Jungle Eevee. During the peak of the mania in COVID, PSA 10 first edition Jungle Eevee was selling for about $1,000. I think that was the highest sale. Like, it reached 1,000 at some point. For that price, you could buy 100 of them and grade multiple of them. Maybe you could grade like 30 of them. I don't even know. Well, it depends on what tier you got in on. If you got in bulk, then for sure. But you could grade 20, 30 of them and sell one and make all your money back. Obviously, that was way too high, so it came down. But it's still $100. This is the Eevee we're talking about, not this Charmander. I just don't have an Eevee on hand. So $100 still for a PSA 10 WotC. I know, yes, it's first edition, but like whatever. Common card. Just because it's in a PSA 10, people pay exorbitant prices, but a PSA 9, no one cares. And like, that's the kind of thing, I think the hobby needs to mature a little bit with stuff like that, because people are still seeing this slab and they think, wow, you know, it's a graded card. It has to be worth at least the cost of grading, right? Like, there's not many cards in the hobby that you can get for less than grading right now. Unless it's like a PSA 4 or something like that. Like, PSA 9s and above, no matter what it is pretty much worth the cost of grading or more right now. And I think that's kind of ridiculous because people think, oh, just because it's in a slab, it's obviously worth that much. And I think with all of the stuff that's coming back now, that's really gonna change. And people that have a lot of these common cards and PSA 9s, PSA 10s, unless it's like first edition base or something, I don't think it's gonna retain its value. So I just kind of wanted to put this out here because that's what I've been thinking about recently. Let me know what you think about this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think like there's some logic behind it that I'm missing? But yeah, let me know. If you have any other video ideas, of course, as always, leave a comment. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks.